What's up everyone, welcome to this video, and today I'm going to show you how to line with a round shader. If you're new to this channel, I'm Brandon from Tattooing 101, and make sure you like and subscribe down below so you can keep up to date on all the new content we make each week. And a couple of things you're going to need for this video is obviously your tattoo machine and a round shader, either a needle bar or a cartridge. So let's get into how to line with a round shader. Okay, and here is how to tattoo with a round shader. I'm using a 9-round shader here, and it is a police cartridge. So with this, tattooing with round shaders can be a little bit differently than tattooing with a liner. There's a couple things you want to think about. The one thing is that with tattooing with a round shader, you can see that the needles are not pushed inward coming to a point. They're just straight out. So it's going to make a thicker line, but it's also going to leave little areas on the outside that can look a little fuzzy just because it's not a perfectly crisp line. So I recommend doing this technique if you are going to do it only for traditional. Most of the time I'm just going to use a big liner just because of that fuzziness that you'll see on the outside. But for more traditional stuff, this is still a method that works really, really well that people still use to this day. So we start out by putting the Vaseline over it just so it doesn't smear up the stencil really bad. So just a light layer everywhere will help you hold up that stencil. So one thing you want to think about whenever you are using bigger needles is the angle that you're doing it is going to matter. Obviously, this is a thicker needle, so if I go at an angle like this, the top set of my needles are not going into the fake skin as deep as the bottom part. So whenever I'm using bigger ones, I'm going to angle it a little bit differently, kind of like right like this instead of my normal. So let's get into actually tattooing it. So you can see that my angle is definitely more higher up than how I normally tattoo like this. So when you go through and make a line, it's going to be way lighter having it at an angle like that. So moving it more, now you don't want it straight up and down just because that will cause issues as well. So you want a little bit of an angle, but you want all of the needles to go into the fake skin the exact same amount the whole way through, just so you don't have inconsistency. So you could see that this one turned out a lot better than over here to where it's really light. So we'll go over that area. So that's how you want it to look. And also using these bigger needles, especially around shader, they use a lot of ink because you're making a really thick line. So you want to make sure anytime you lift up, you're dipping into your ink cap just so you have the appropriate amount of ink in your cartridge to be able to pull a line. So you can see that there are only 9 needles in this cartridge, but it's running more like an 11 or a 14. So you don't need super big needle groupings in order to make thick lines if you are using a round shader. So I definitely wouldn't recommend you trying to do a 14 round shader or something because it's going to be huge. Another thing with this, you could see if you watch my other videos, I'm slowing down my hand speed just because it is a thicker cartridge. If I went my regular hand speed, it would just come out really light. So I'll show you exactly what I mean. This is how I normally run my machine when I'm using a different cartridge or even a liner. And you can see it's just really light in some areas. So you want to make sure that your hand speed is also matching what cartridges you're using. So even if you have to slow down a little bit because you're using a bigger cartridge, by all means do that just so you can make a consistent line the whole way through. So it's fairly the same whenever you are using a round shader. It's really close to how it would be with an actual liner. But there's just a couple little things like, slowing down your hand speed, things like that you need to change in order to create a really clean line with a round shader. But also, no matter what, you're still going to have those little fuzzy areas, especially in actual human skin, just because this needle grouping isn't necessarily set up for shading. It's meant for, blocking in little areas and using it as a round shader instead of a liner. You can see I'm dipping it in. Anytime I lift it up, just so I have enough ink built up in the tube in order to pull the lines. And also when I get to the tip, just because it's a really thick liner, I'm not going straight forward and going back. I'm kind of lifting up at the end of the line right here, kind of whipping it out a little bit just so it doesn't leave a little ball at the end. I'll show you exactly what I mean over here. So if you go and just do a line exactly like this without kind of whipping it out at the end, this is what happens. So you can see that it's just like this little ball at the end just because of the needle and how thick it is. So the way to kind of counteract that is just whipping out the end just a little bit and then going back into it. That way it's kind of like a nice little transition to where it makes it look sharp instead of just like a rounded off edge. That's one little trick I picked up just using, big liners throughout my career that helps out a ton when it comes to the actual tattooing process.
If you have found this video helpful and you would like to be mentored by artists like me and other mentors from Tattooing 101, I left a link underneath this video for you. Inside our Artist Accelerator program, we break down step by step how to tattoo from start to finish, even if you are just a beginner. So if you're tired of trying to figure out everything on your own and want to skip years of trial and error to become a professional tattoo artist, I recommend you check it out.
So the question I have for you guys, what is the biggest round shader that you have used for lining? Honestly, I don't go above a 9 because you can see that this is super thick, and more than likely, 95% of the time I'm still going to use a liner. There's just so many different liners out there that I could really pick and choose whatever one I want for the tattooing process, that I don't really need to use round shaders anymore. But I've had quite a few of you guys ask how to tattoo with them, what to do, what not to do. So that's why I made this video, to be able to show you exactly how you tattoo with a round shader. Awesome, so I hope this video is able to help you guys out, and if you were wanting to pick up some round shaders and learn how to line, I definitely recommend going with a 9. I wouldn't go above that. Anything less than that, you might as well just use a liner anyway. So this is exactly how you do that, and I hope you guys have a wonderful day. Thanks for watching.